I'm Mike McWilliams, your host, and I am so glad that you made the time to join in this evening. Whether you're going to watch this live now or in the rerun, I want to let you know I do appreciate it. Let me make some adjustments here. Yeah, I like that lighting. Looks good. Yeah, actually, I like that there. It's always too blinding after an hour with this light. I like to try to keep it as far away as possible. It's like the sun. Um, yeah, glad to be here, guys. Another week is in progress. I hope yours is going well. Mine is going quietly, and that's always good. I always do appreciate these quiet times. While I wait for more people to join into the live stream in the chat, I will talk about something that's going on here at Upstairs to the Right Music Studio. Actually, I'm going to talk about a product that I want to recommend. I have not done a regular content on this because I think it's very kind of promotional ish, but I think for a live stream environment like this, I think it is appropriate. Ben Allmark, always supporting the channel and here tonight. How you doing, sir? Waiting for everybody to show up. Ben, I was going to review this item on my regular content, but I started to think to myself, it's a little bit too promotionally for a particular company. Although I do like the product, but for a live stream, I thought it would be more appropriate. And that item is this, and it's actually, oops, got a latch loose here. I guess you can tell what it is. It's a guitar case. So this is a guitar case that is actually produced by Thomann. And if I can do this live without completely destroying the contents, and I want you to see how it looks with a guitar in it. Keep our fingers crossed. I'm doing it live, damn it, I'll do it live. Yeah, I think this will be all right if I hold it like this. So you can see I have the Yamaha in here, and it just fits absolutely snugly and beautifully. And even more importantly, it's cheap. Uh, I have to say, I've gone through, as you can well imagine, a lot of cases in my time. And I have to say that this case is the best hard case value out there that I found. So if you're out there in your market looking for a hard case, I would say go with this one. It's 69 euros. And it's free shipping. So if you're in the EU, it's great. To the States and other places, you'll have to check, but I'm pretty sure it's around that price range. Uh, this is one of the best value hard cases that I've ever come across for 69 euros. Uh, with the all of the things that come with it, I would certainly rate it, to be honest with you, above the case that you get with the Epiphones, the higher end Epiphones. Yeah, the price is absolutely right. It's absolutely right. And there's a shortage of hard cases, believe it or not. At least over here in Europe. Yet another thing in our little realm of the guitar industry that is in shortage. I talked about how in Japan, a lot of the plastic parts, replacement parts, and some of the metal parts, because I couldn't get the tuners I wanted either, um, are out of stock. And here in Europe, a lot of places are having issues with their hard cases. And when you do find it, the prices are pretty doggone high. I am not going to spend above 69 euros for a hard case. It's perfect because it's brand new. If it's something wrong, I can send it back and get another one. Yeah, that's my limit. And I guess it all really has been. I'm old school, man. I come from the case is free, or if you're looking for a case, you can find a used one for 25 bucks. But those days are long gone, long gone. But in the modern era, what we have to deal with, this Tomon case is pretty nice. I have to really give this an upstairs to the right music channel thumbs up on this case, especially again for the price. Tall thin Kev in the house. What's cracking, man? How you doing? I'm so glad that you're in. We're talking. I'm warming up the live stream here by talking about this Tomon case. I've had it for a while, and I did buy it specifically for this Yamaha because I felt that this Yamaha is such a beautiful guitar that it deserved to have a hard case. I bought it with without one. I like it so much that I'm going to buy another one for that 1958 Epiphone P90. That fortunately I could finish up. I have the pick guard that was missing on its way, so that's a project that's completely restored. And I'd like to put it in a nice case. And for 69 euros, it makes sense, especially as a when I'm dealing these guitars, I'm not planning on holding on to them, but I do like to give these guitars to their next owner in a hard case when I can. I really do try to hard to do that, guys. It's one of the service things that I do that I really think is important for the health of the guitar as well. I want it to look as good as it does this case 40 years later from now as it does now. So I always try to get a hard case for it. Ben says, I just recently bought a couple of used Gibsons and Fender cases. All were about $100 or more. Yeah. Yeah, you can do those, and I'm actually, it's wild. So I got to the point now with some guitars going forward. I'm probably, if I the Japanese ones, if I do come across a guitar that I like, but it doesn't have a case, I'm probably going to also scour the secondhand market in Japan to find a case to go with it as well and just ship it together. I'm starting to think because some of these guitars, like the one I got coming, has its original case, but one doesn't. And I'm starting to think maybe I should have scoured a secondhand case for that in Japan because over here it's quite expensive. Got some bids up on making and repairing cases. Do you? Well, that's a coinky dink. That's great. Good timing on that. We're kind of like what is that? We're just jiving with each other. It's good. Yeah. Secondhand cases, man, and right here behind me, these are secondhand cases. All of these cases are secondhand cases. And so I'm gonna buy another one of these for 69 euros, free shipping. You can't beat that, man. So I'm gonna buy another one for that Epiphone, and that'll be a nice little package too. So I think it's well worth it. I honestly do. So I can recommend this guy, Tomon, 69 euros. I don't know how much it is in your currency, but it couldn't be that much far off from that. So, and it's a great case. And also, if you do have guitars that don't have cases, go out there on the secondhand market and try to get your guitars some decent cases because I have like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I have a bad feeling about some things, especially in the supply chain. We're going to talk about that tonight with the subject that I'm going to get into here. But if you say, yeah, I want to get a nice case one of these days for the guitar, do it. And then go to Tall Thin Kev's channel and check out how to do some repairs on it if it needs to be. Cat's Music Journey, welcome, sir. I have a Tone Mind case for my Harley Benton LP and a couple others for Strats. The one you have in the tweed one, they are great. As you mentioned, great for shipping when so yeah, absolutely. And you're going to sell your guitars too. You want to sell it, you want to send it and ship it in a hard case too. The Japanese guys, the Japanese guys in the stores and my guy that ships the stuff over to me are experts in wrapping. You could get them to put some eggs. That what is that U.S. Military thing where they had to drop food down from airplanes and it had to be protected in a certain way, and the eggs couldn't crack, not one. That's kind of how these guys are. They could do that job. They're pretty good, but yeah, hard case, guys. Tall Thinkhead says Westone case for about 84. I'll take a look at that. I'll take a look into that. Um, like I said, 69 is is around my sweet spot. But I look into the Westone, maybe they'll go on sale and they get down lower than that. So I will check that out. But to wrap this little portion of tonight's content up, again, like I said, take a look at the Tomon case for 69 euros. That's pretty sweet for the price. I have no qualms with this case. What the latches, great. The materials, great. The lining, the interior, the storage, fantastic. Really the bargain case out there if you're looking for one. Just thought I would throw that out there. Benny Larson in the house. Good evening, sir. How you doing? I am so glad that you're here. All right, we've got some folks in here. We can get started. Um, I was doing some gardening today. I have a Japanese elm that I needed to. I'm growing in pots, and I felt that it was growing out of the pot was in, so I was transferring that into the pot. And while I'm out in the garden, I like to listen to things on YouTube. And uh, I've got some channels that I like, some people that I really, really respect that I listen whenever they have some come out. I'm subscribed to them and I usually check them out immediately. And KDH, this man is like the Sherlock Holmes. No, that's not appropriate. He is quite the investigative reporter. He gets on things, and I do believe that he broke this story first before anybody else. Don't quote me on that. There are some guitar magazines that have picked it up since, but I do believe he was the first one to break the story that Fernandes guitars. Now, we've been talking about Fernandes guitars. We've talked about that lawsuit that they got involved in 2012 with Gibson over a trademark of the headstock, and then Gibson lost that one. If you want to hear more about that, watch my live stream. Gibson loses again. But Fernandez, has gone bankrupt. Unfortunately, they filed for bankruptcy in Japan, and I was really shocked by that. It was weird. My reaction when I saw his brief video talking about it, and then I got onto the Japanese sites myself and started reading and looking around and confirmed that it is indeed true. And then, of course, it has gone out into the mainstream media. So tonight, I'm thrilled to have you guys here, as always. It's an important topic that's making waves in our little space here on YouTube. And I thought I would throw in my viewpoint on it. My reaction when I first heard it, as I was saying, I was very surprised because I was actually hurt. It was actually like, oh, ouch. But from quite a while now, for quite a while now, I've been talking about those market forces. I've used a metaphor of the perfect storm. And as a result of those things, unexpected consequences happen. And this is one of the unexpected consequences of what's going on in the secondary market. I'll get into that. I'm not going to touch into that aspect of it too much. I actually want to try to see if something positive can come out of this. But a little bit of background. The bankruptcy of Fernandez, let me go through my notes, or I will start to go into digressions on this one. This iconic Japanese guitar company, known for its Fender and Gibson replicas, has been a staple for many musicians, including big names like Green Day's Billy Joe Armstrong and, believe it or not, Metallica's Kurt Hammett. There's a picture of a young Kurt Hammett with a Fernandez guitar, and he rocked that, man. He rocked that thing seriously. So this is not, you know, Joe Schmo guitars. This thing is a major influencer out there, big enough where Gibson was concerned about it and tried to take him to task. So let's explore the reasons behind this unfortunate turn of events. As I've done a little bit of research into it, its immediate consequences and what it means for the guitar market going forward. That's what I want to emphasize on tonight's discussion is what this means for the guitar market going forward, if anything at all. Um, but it certainly is. I'll put it this way to spoil the lead. It's symptomatic of a bigger problem, and that bigger problem is what I've been discussing for a long time and preaching against overproduction. But we'll get into that. A little bit of background. Fernandes Guitars was founded in 1969. Senkyu Haku Rokuju Kyunin in Japan. Over the years, it has become known for producing high quality budget guitars, particularly replicas of Fender and Gibson models. Their products have been used by numerous renowned artists, making Fernandes a well respected name in the industry. Again, um, uh, there are a myriad of guitar companies out there that don't have the pedigree of Fernandes, um, that uh, are for some reason, still going on. I foresee that things won't be too good for them. But again, just to emphasize that Fernandez was not it was not a small company. It was a significant company. And again, that's one of the reasons why it was kind of a ouch kind of moment because the implications of it immediately began to flood into my mind. Now, the Fernandez Revival RST 50 is the one that Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day is known for using that guitar. And again, a young, but it just shows you that it's a pretty rocking company. I'm trying to, I really am. The more I think about this and sit here and read this, the more upset I get about it. To be honest with you, but the RSG50 is a great guitar. They're also known for their sustainer pickup, if you guys are familiar with that. And they had a lot of great endorsements. Robert Trujillo is an endorser associated with Fernandez. But alas, all of this prestige, a pedigree reaching back to 1969, was not enough to survive current market forces. On July 13th, Fernandez Guitars announced that it had filed for bankruptcy. The company cited a considerable amount of debt as a primary factor, making it impossible to continue operations. According to Tokyo Shoko Research, Fernandez owed about 433 million yen, which is approximately about 2.1 million pounds, as of January 2024. Uh, the contributing factors were debt accumulation. The significant debt owed to multiple creditors was unsustainable. Now, I'm going to break each one of these down because I want you again to think about that supply chain in Japan and how many people were in the supply chain for Fernandez that are now facing a bankruptcy. And we'll go through um, that a little bit here in detail too. Well, I'll touch on it now. If you're a creditor and you're looking at this bankruptcy by Fernandez and you're a small producer of whatever, knobs or maybe the fretboard material or maybe whatever part of that guitar. Because as I've told you, the guitar as it's produced usually comes from at least 4 or 5 sources in terms of, and that goes across the board with Asian made guitars, usually from a lot of different suppliers. But that's going to affect them negatively. Again, there was a shortage of parts I found personally this week, that last week. Uh, I had to I had to employ several of my Japanese friends to go out on a scavenger hunt to find these parts. And when they got to the place, I literally bought the last one of these parts was the last one in all of Japan for now, and they can't say when they're going to get another one. So I'm glad I got it, but I'm not happy for an environment where that's happening. That's not good. My timing, good. Environment, not so good. Secondhand market impact. Um, the rise of the secondhand market reduced new sales, affecting revenue, according to Fernandez. I don't want to drill on this one too much, to be honest with you, because I again, I talked about how I've been talking for over a year now, maybe longer, about how market forces were impacting the secondhand market, how it's thrown askew, how that screws up the first market that they come from, the overproduction being also a big issue as well. And of course, that feeds into the secondhand market. And then, of course, the artificial pumping of revenue into the secondary market during COVID played a role in that. A lot of things, bad timing, bad timing. Uh, Intense competition from other guitar manufacturers put additional pressure on Fernandez. Um, Again, producing guitars in Japan is not cheap. The quality is there, certainly. Um, Offshoring them also to other places presents logistical problems. But well, anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Just focus on the fact that they're saying that the increased competition from other guitar manufacturers put pressure on their sales. Now, the immediate effects on the market. What do I? Sometimes I sit here and I feel like I'm giving a lecture, like a professor. I, I hear, I hear nothing from the audience. And I worry sometimes that I'm droning on like, and then in 1969. So I'm gonna take a break here for a minute, put a pause here before I get into the immediate effects on the market. You know, it's just crazy to me how things are going. And I guess that we are all going to see where this is headed in the big picture. But there are certainly cracks. I always say that, when I always look for the underlying currents of things. Once something's already happened, once the building's fallen down, it's a little too late to predict it falling down. When you're surveying the structure and looking for cracks in the support columns, and you start to see them, then that's an indicator. And I'm always looking for indicators of a bigger picture or something emerging bigger. And again, like I said, I'm a big picture kind of thinker sometimes, or at least I try to be. And this bodes not well. Benny Larson says, "Don't worry, you're not alone, Mike. We're listening. We're just listening." Okay, groovy. Thank you, Benny. I appreciate that. Just like to hear from you guys once in a while, Bueller. Bueller. um, yeah. So the immediate effects on the market. Now, what does this mean for musicians and collectors? Now we're going to get into my bread and butter. This is merely my speculation, stranger on the internet. So you don't have to listen to me. But this is my thoughts, my 2 cents. There will be an increased value of existing guitars. With the cessation of production, existing Fernandez guitars may become collector's items, potentially increasing in value. Potentially, I put an underline in my notes here on that word, increasing in value. The older 70s Fernandez or the early 80s Fernandez, there are some models. I mentioned the Billy Joel Armstrong RST 50 Revival as being one of those guitars. The reason I mentioned it, just throw it out there, because it's going to certainly be one of those guitars that I think possibly, kind of, sort of, maybe uh, could take off in terms of collector's value. At the very least, hold their value, plus maybe fight inflation every year 10%. That's your golden number, 10%. A much harder number, as some of you guys out there know. Tall, thin Kev. Think they will get bought maybe by Court or Fuji. I'm going to get into that. Boy, I have the smartest audience awake at this time of evening or morning or afternoon on YouTube. Correct, sir. I'm going to get into that. But I'm going to use a case study first. Let me move on. A supply chain disruption. Musicians and retailers might face difficulties in sourcing Fernandez products and spare parts. Now, again, I keep talking about those spare parts because if they go out, then that could be the one thing that throws one of their suppliers out of business because they were counting on that revenue. And if they've gone into bankruptcy, that's revenue that they may not get in. They might just have to write off. The ripple effect. The ripple effect. I keep stressing the ripple effect that you guys have been talking. Again, that's why I keep doing this. I'm not calling an audible. I'm trying to talk about there are market forces that are creating storms, and these storms have consequences, and this is one of them. And it's going to get worse. This is the cracks in the foundations and the support beams that I was talking about that I'm always looking for. This is certainly can be arguably argued to be a crack. The supply chain disruptions have a myriad of implications that I don't have the time to go into detail tonight, but something to think about. For retailers and business partners, financial losses. Retailers and business partners may incur losses due to unpaid debts and unsold inventory. Just got into that. The opposite of this is that you probably, in the short run, you could probably get a Fernandez guitar for super cheap. So if there's been one that you've been eyeing to get, maybe time to reach out and try to get around a deal. I may, for prosperity's sake, look for a Fernandez guitar during my holiday time, because again, August is my holiday, guys. But I might, during that time, I might start doing some research and maybe get one in September, just to bring in one of the older ones. But certainly, there may or may not be a deal on that. We will see. We'll put it to the test. We'll put my rubber to the road and see how it spins. I'm down for that. That's fine. Market gap. The exit of Fernandez could create opportunities for other guitar manufacturers to fill the gap left behind in the budget and replica guitar market. Again, when this market hates a void, and certainly there are some people who will see this as an opportunity to fill in that gap. But on a positive note, as I sometimes try to say in these discussions, and as Tall Kev was alluding to, there may be options here where it is not quite yet done for Fernandez. I find it hard to believe by the way, a company of the reputation and the organizational and the machinery to just get wiped, wrote off like this. I just can't see that happening. Now, there is another equivalent of this that I'd like to. I thought about immediately when I read this. When I heard KDH talking about this, when I was reading some of the things about it, to bring up. Well, that's interesting because they could come out of this because Gibson had a bankruptcy. In 2018, Gibson filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, but managed to restructure and recover. Now, how did they do this? This was achieved through leadership change. We got the new, the new cast of characters, as I like to call them, bringing in new management with a fresh vision. Boy, howdy. They had a fresh vision, all right. But I laugh because I, just like everybody else in 2019, was excited by the direction of things that were coming out. So much so that I bought, several Les Pauls, as you know. But anyway, restructuring. They restructured. They streamlined their operations. They bought light bulbs and put them in the ceilings. They said, "Hey, we could make these guitars a whole lot better if we have light bulbs in the ceilings up there so people can see what they're doing." If you guys think I'm kidding about that, again, look it up. That is not a joke. That is for real. Streamlining operations and focusing on core products. In the beginning, they've strayed from that. Investor support, most important one. They were able to secure financial backing to stabilize the company. And these are lessons that I think that Fernandes could benefit from and continue going. Um, with Fernandes facing these significant challenges, I think a similar path to recovery could be possible if new investment comes in. Investors see the value in reviving the brand. There is, I mean, just like some investors saw there being benefit in reviving Gibson, Fernandez is enough of a company to be of that level that it should have interest. I think, I hope, it's my my hope, my sincere hope, in reviving this brand. Strategic challenges. The company adopts a focused and innovative business strategy. In other words, the mom and pop thing was their big thing. That's where I saw Fernandez. I mean, we've all seen Fernandez, regardless of where you are in the world. And I've been a lot of places in the world where I'm like, hey, there's a Fernandez. The cheaper ones usually. But of course, cumulative living in Japan for 18 years, I've seen me from some Fernandezes. Trust me, it is not a guitar that is alien to me. So they certainly have the cachet, I think, to be able to adopt a more focused and innovative brand strategy. Do something out of the mom and pop realm, move like everybody else. They're going to have to go on the internet, but maybe a direct sales kind of thing, their own website, maybe something, slimming it down. And of course, this leads to their market positioning, in my opinion, leveraging its legacy and its artist endorsements would certainly help find them investors. Hey, look at the cats that we have playing this, and look at our legacy, and look at the innovative products that we've come up with. Some people would argue that the sustainer is a bit of a copy, but I think KDH also mentioned that. But it's enough of a thing where it became the thing. I don't know what the original is. One of those things where it was better than the original thing, and that's what the Japanese do. We know this. So they got some products. They got some. They've got some endorsements, they've got some legacy, they've got something. So here are some potential scenarios that could happen. Acquisition. A larger company or investor group might acquire Fernandez, injecting capital and restructuring the business. This would be ideal. Brand revival. A focus on niche markets and premium products could help Fernandez rebuild its brand. These are my opinions. These are my opinions. If I were to write a brief, like I have for other companies in the past, regarding certain markets, these would be my suggestions to them. But so those are the two potential scenarios on the positive side. So these are the things that I could see happening, and also giving them a focus on a niche market, which is where they really need to be. They've already won the lawsuit against Gibson, so they could say, "Hey, you want a guitar that's like the old super reels and stuff that we're doing back in the day? We can do that, or we can do a custom shop thing." There's a lot of things that they're in the position to be able to do, I think. If not, it's going to be the end of an era. If no investors come forward, Fernandez might fade into history, with its existing products becoming possibly rare collectibles. It's not a bid for you to go out there and start buying up all of the Fernandezes that have the built in speaker. No, not that one. That ain't the one. But it does have the potential of becoming a rare collectible down the line. Down the line. Of course, then we got to make it down the line, but that's a separate subject. So, the marketing impact, consumer choice, the market could see a shift in consumer preferences towards other brands, filling the void left by Fernandez. But again, that's within the Japanese market. That doesn't really deal with us too much, although it does affect us in the other ways that I mentioned, and does point toward an even bigger industry issue. Industry dynamics, increased competition among remaining manufacturers to capture Fernandez market share could possibly lead to the driving down of prices. But again, you got inflationary issues fighting against that. So what's going to happen there? Um, yeah. Again, uh, I Phineas in the house. Mr. Henshaw, how you doing? Who sold Fernandez guitars? They didn't sell it. They went bankrupt. Hey, sir, how you doing? I just talking about how Fernandez filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Uh, Extreme debt, 2.1 million pounds to be exact. Uh, and the secondary market just eating into their sales. Overproduction, which is where I want to end this at tonight. At the end of all this, and again, one of the consequences of overproduction is this: what retailer was selling them? Well, in Japan, Phineas, you would find them in not almost, just about every single solitary guitar shop. There would be a Fernandez section, as well as in the secondary shops like Book Off or Hard Off, actually, sorry, where you can buy, they have a huge, usually Hard Off, which by themselves, which by the way, okay, another crack in the Japanese market. Hard Off is one of the big secondary stores in Japan. They have Hard Off, Book Off, CD Off. These are stores that deal with, as they sound with. Book Off is secondhand bookstores. There's a huge second books thing, manga, book series, books, things like that. That you go to Book Off. Hard Off is hard items like handbags, like Louis Vuitton bags, guitars of all from Gibson all the way down to Fernandez. Jewelry. I lived in those shops. Those are the shops that I bought most of my gear from. I'm quite sure if I dug around here and look, some of the stuff I have here, I could pull from having for decades, having from those shops. The owner of the chain in Japan of Hard Off, Book Off, CD Off has been missing for a month and fled with the receipts of the company. And most of those individual stores are closing. So even in that secondary market, there's going to be a push down. And again, the timing and again, Fernandez, there was a well, I'm trying to think of the word tonight. If every time I mention Star Wars, yeah, guys, I had to put $1 in the tip jar. But it's a symbiotic. That's the word. Like the midichlorians, it's a symbiotic relationship between a company in Japan like Hardoff and a company like Fernandez, and we're seeing cracks there. Seeing cracks there. And yeah, tall thin Kev says best with the Euro Millions this week. Then you could buy them. Yeah, man, that's trippy. I'm still one of those guys who believes that playing the lottery is the same thing. Chance of getting struck by lightning. It's just not my thing, but they sure do line up here for it. I see it. I see it down here at the post office because they sell it some days. I'm like, all right, but the market saturation, the market saturation. This overproduction gets to a point like how many guitars can you have? And then we're drawing into a position here, honestly, where that is not a big importance. The cost of gas, the cost of insurance. I watch these videos on YouTube where I keep my eye on the States. I haven't lived there for now half of my life, but I keep my eye on it because I got family there. And I see these YouTube videos of these cats who are getting into these $1,400 a month car payments there. And that's not including the insurance or the gas and all those things. And I wonder how many people I talked before about the getting guitars and making payments on them. And it's essentially, you're putting yourself in debt over a guitar, which should be an item that you buy traditionally. You begged, borrowed, or in a lot of cases, just ask Jimmy Page, stole to get a guitar. But you borrow from your friends. You didn't borrow from a company for an APR of 18% or 9% or whatever they use. I used to live in Kagigawa, Shizuoka. Used to see them in Shizuoka City music shops. Yes, Phineas. Yeah. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I used to live in Kanagawa. I used to live in Churorinkan in Yamatoshi. And yeah. So, gotta go. Tall Thing Kev says, hey, you take care, brother. Thank you so much for showing up. Have a good rest of the week. But my question when I see all these guitar shops, who is buying all these guitars? Yeah, that's what I'm leaning to. That's what I'm talking about. This over consumption period is at an end. And now we have the great dumping. I mentioned the car video payment situation. These people are buying these outrageously expensive guitars that they can't cars that they can't afford, making these huge payments on them because when they go to sell them, they're finding that there's so many people who are in the same position they can't sell it, and the dealerships can't give them away. Starting to sound like a similar market that we were just talking about for the last few minutes. This market reflects corporate accounting mindsets. Just boost the numbers while regard for the business practices or the effect of the oversaturation of your product. You can cut your own throat by putting too much of your product out there. There was a restaurant that I loved in Singapore. I ate there for 5 years. I lived in Singapore up in Dempsey Hill. That the food it was what you guys would see in a movie of the quintessential Asian bamboo kind of fans going, really cool vibe place is the best of that, with some vibe, some age and some vibe to it. Well, the owner got offered to branch out, and the quality of the food at the original restaurant that I liked went down. Bartender that I liked, I back then I would have a drink every now and then, and my drink was martini, and that bartender knew how to make a proper one. Once he was gone, I stopped drinking them. I'm a hoot when I have a martini. If I have martini, boy, I am hilarious. But I don't drink that much. But again, it dilute he cut his own throat by dilute a dilution of his own market that he created, and we see the same effects here. And so you can cut your own throat, and these guitar manufacturers are doing it. Gibson produces 170,000 guitars a year. How many of those go into the secondary market? How many of even the bigger collectors, even those rock guys who you walk in and they have a house just for their guitars, even they at some point are going to have to dump those. And who is going to be there to buy them? It's all, there is money laundering involved at the higher levels. I'll touch into that subject someday. When you see such and such guitar went for such and such, usually there's some scammy shit going on in the background of that. In reality, it's money laundering. And the reality down on our level, there is an overabundance of guitars and a lack of cash. And that is never, ever a good combination. And Fernandes, unfortunately, came across that. They're a corporation, but if they were an individual, it would be the same thing. So, cracks in the foundation. I see this as being an indicator of cracks in the foundation of things to come. Um, yeah, dig that, man. Chew on those things, ponder upon it, think about it. Um, Love to hear you guys' thoughts, of course, as always. Take a moment here to ask you to hit that like button, guys. If you're watching this live, please remember to hit the like button. If you're watching this in the rerun, also please do so as well. I am trying to get to 5,000 subscribers. I'm sitting at 2.34K right now. So I'm halfway there. And I got another, I'm halfway through the year. So I got another few months, 6 months in the year to go here. So I think I should be able to do it. But I can't do it without your help. If you're watching this, my algorithms tell me that a lot of people watch my channel, actually. I'm surprised. But a lot of you who are watching have not yet hit the subscription button. If you'd like to see more content coming from me, show me that you're out there and just hit the subscription button. I promise you. I won't send you any mailers or try to sell you anything. As a matter of fact, again, the point of this channel is to talk you out of things or look at alternatives. And certainly in these days, with the economy being what it is, my focus will continue to be on cheaper and but better alternatives. You're saying, well, how is that possible? Something's cheaper, but it's better? Yeah. 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 It's out there. You just have to free your mind. You just have to be open to change. You got to start looking at the bigger picture. Phineas Henshaw says, well, high-end guitars are like buying a BMW. You spend 100K for it, and 5 years later, the same car is 30K depreciation. With car guitars, you spend 5K for PRS, and 5 years later, they're on revert for 2K. Yeah, because PRS came out with several different iterations of that guitar in the 4 preceding years after that, or the 4 years after that, and preceding that. It's pretty bad right now. Yeah. And again, to me, and I appreciate you getting in the chat here, Phineas, and joining in. I always like it when you come in here. Your thoughts um, are always great, and yeah, I agree with that. But the depreciation on these things is getting worse. There used to be a time, like I said, where it was a set kind of thing. You took a guitar into a shop, and if it was of value, something nice, then you could probably walk off 20, worst case scenario, 25% of what you paid for it. Now these days it's 40, 50, could damn well be 60%. Because again, you got too many guitars being chased by too few dollars. And again, how many of these things do you really want to see? I sell quality, not quantity. And again, in order to achieve that, you got to kind of reach back into the used market, which I always keep on. But we got to free up this used market uh, and get things moving there because they're so sluggish. In order to be a benefit to us as musicians and to actually, in an indirect way, these companies as well. Certainly, in the case of Fernandes, it's a little too late. But again, secondhand market, it's the way to go, guys. Stop buying used. Don't support these companies in their overproduction. They're cutting their own throats anyway. And as was pointed out, if you buy something new, the depreciation on it, well, I'm not planning on selling it anyway. Yeah, but still, you got to know in the back of your mind, hey, I paid this much for this, and now it's worth this much. Well, it's a great guitar, and I enjoy playing it. Fantastic, but you still lost on that. You can justify that as much as you want to. you know, you can live in a house with no mirrors in it, but it's the truth. You know. ES 175s are a good example. You could buy one for 3,500 and trade it in for 3,000 back. That's right. That's right. That is absolutely right. There are some models like that, and yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, I got you. Those days are gone unless it's vintage. That's correct. And I'll tell you something. Even the vintage one, I've got a vintage. I told you I have a Gibson 175 from 1968 on consignment. Is it 68? Yeah, 68 on consignment with one of my guitar guys down here. He's trying to get me to move it. And the value on that thing is dropping all the time. I've got to go down there and talk to him and say, hey, I got to walk out of this because there's nothing here. And he was hoping to move it to Japan, but their currency is blown up. So they're not interested on the Japanese side of buying it either because it would cost them more in yen because of the exchange. So yeah, another crack. A lot of things, guys. A lot of things there. On a positive note, we are here. And I think we have the right mindset. I think that we are all in awe of the things, but I think if you've been following this channel or Three Chord Dave or KDH or any of the other cats and listening, I think we've all been sort of letting you know that things are afoot and you could profit from it or you could not. or you could just completely ignore it. Probably even better. uh, but uh, you know, either way, it's opinions. But I think there's sincerity here. Certainly, and I can speak for myself. I'm being sincere when I come to you and have these discussions about these topics. I enjoy them. Obviously, you can tell. But it is just to keep you informed and to possibly make you think about some things, making some moves if it seems appropriate. Again, I alluded to the yen dollar trade. There is not a better time for you to get yourself a vintage guitar than now. Vintage Japanese guitars are more affordable than they've ever been. And if you've always said to yourself, I want to have a vintage guitar, I would sincerely encourage you to look into that. Because I don't have a guitar of my own right now personally. I don't. Other than, well, I don't have. Okay, strike that. I have a Telecaster and a parts caster, but I have no guitars of my own of the quality that I think that I should have. The stuff that comes through, as you know, usually is for sale. But I am going to get myself at least one or two keepers, and they're all going to be vintage Japanese guitars. One is going to be a 335 ish, or maybe a 175. I haven't decided ish from the 70s. Another one's going to be one of these 70s strats, possibly like that Greco that I have right now. I love that guitar. And I don't think I'm going to find a better in condition in that color if I tried. I think it was complete luck. So that might just be my keeper guitar. I might be a Strat guy going forward. Although I like this Yamaha as well, but I think I want a vintage guitar. This Yamaha still has a little way to go before it becomes vintage, even though it's an 85. But that Yamaha is a vintage guitar coming up here. So there is not a better time for you to think about doing the same. And I just think it's cool. Hey, what's your guitar? Well, I got a vintage Greco from the 70s. Nobody's going to say anything. Nobody's going to poo poo you. Nobody's going to say, as a matter of fact, they're going to say, oh, that's cool. Tell me more about it. And then you got them. And then maybe you can encourage them to do the same. Hey, I got this for a song and it's a vintage and it's better than anything they're pumping out these days. And I'm good. So we can always end it out by saying I'm good. All right, guys. I think I've beat that horse enough to death tonight and made my points. Plus, I'm out of blood orange juice. So I think that is a good time to end this. I want to thank you guys so much for always supporting this channel by showing up in the live stream, by showing up afterwards and watching it in the rerun, by watching my regular content, and by commenting and really supporting this channel. I know that if I continue and with your support to put the stuff out, have these kind of conversations, shed light on these issues in an adult manner, I think that certainly this channel will continue to grow. And I want to thank you so much. I'll give you my commitment that I will do so if you keep on supporting me. And yeah, I think that's a good deal. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I will bid you a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Thank you so much for tuning into this live stream on the Wednesday Night Hump. I'm Mike McWilliams. This is Upstairs to the Right Music channel. Thank you, gentlemen, everybody in the chat. Siggy, man, you showed up Like, I appreciate it, man. You showing up. Good to see you at the end here. Hey, you guys take care. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.